Hello, Contrarians listeners, Contrarians fans, Contrarians video watchers all over the world. Here we are with a classic. This is the warm-up to our Princess Bride episode, requested / demanded by Princess Bride superfan Billy Dunham, who hopefully enjoys what we did in the main episode. But before you guys get to that, you can listen to us talk about some Princess Bride trivia that didn't make it into the episode, read some quotes, Rotten Tomatoes quotes that also are not in the episode, and then, of course, do the Josh Gad Minute, which is never part of the episode. That's just exclusive to these warm-up videos. So if you are ready, let's get started. I'm going to start with the first fresh quote, and this is from Brad Laidman from Film Threat, who says, "An effective comedy, an interesting bedtime tale, and one of the greatest date rentals of all time." Date rental? Yes or no?
For white couples. It's a very white movie. Yeah, I suppose it's a really safe bet. You got the fairy tale aspects, the love aspects, and then the comedy. So yeah, and it's not like there's many risks taken by this. So a good safe bet.
This is like an opening salvo when you're dating. I mean, not your first date, but maybe the first time that you go to the movies with this girl.
This, and then second date, Melancholia. You really like
push the envelope.
Test the bounds of what's going on here.
Yes, I like it. All right. Next, Stephen D. Great Danis from Decent Films says, "One of those rare satiric gems like The Court Jester and Galaxy Quest that doesn't just send up a genre, but honors it at the same time." Never even heard of The Court Jester. What is this? Like Galaxy Quest, of course, we're all familiar with Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman.
Court Jester is a Danny Kaye film, also starring Angela Lansbury.
Man, I already know what that movie's like.
Mm-hmm.
Singing, dancing, fun for the whole family, and then it's over.
I mean, just the poster looks like a hoot. So,
who's the jester? Angela Lansbury or
yeah? If you think of like the first image that in your mind would come up on Google for this movie, and if it's Danny Kaye in a court jester outfit going, that's exactly right.
Angela Lansbury in the background going like, "Oh, this guy."
Good times, she wrote.
Yeah. All right. Well, not having seen that, I can still think that it's probably an apt comparison. That and The Princess Bride in Galaxy Quest, like knowing the other two movies in that triangle, I can kind of figure out what The Court Jester is like. What do you think, Alex? What's more successful as a love letter to a genre? Galaxy Quest as a love letter to sci-fi, or The Princess Bride as a love letter to fantasy?
I mean, one of them has Andre the Giant, but the other one has like peak Sigourney Weaver. So I'll go with Galaxy Quest just for Sigourney Weaver.
We did decide that Princess Bride is not surprisingly peak Robin Wright.
No.
You'd think she was, and then you watch the rest of her career.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, Galaxy Quest at this point has a higher probability of cancellation due to the Tim Allen tie-in, but it's also got Tony Shalhoub. Who doesn't love a good Tony Shalhoub?
Next, Candace Russell from South Florida Sound Sentinel says, "In spirit, The Princess Bride recalls the never-ending story, which also was about a contemporary boy's fantastic adventure. Reiner's film is likely to please adults more than kids and to last in memory more than most films this fall." Have you seen Never-Ending Story, Alex?
Like when I was a wee lad, but only once.
Do you remember the big dog? He flies on top of a bit.
The thing he rides on top of, yeah.
The thing. It's a dog. I mean, I don't think they call it a dog, but I think it's pretty clear that it's a dog. And
it's no Andre.
I haven't seen it in a long time, and I think that one's more kids oriented. Definitely.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think that I didn't grow up with The Princess Bride, as covered on the episode, but I did grow up with Neverending Story and Labyrinth, kind of like back to back whenever they showed. Whenever they played them on TV, it was usually a double feature. And I remember liking Labyrinth more because of the Muppet aspect, even though they're not officially Muppets. I think Jim Henson is behind the effects on that one.
It's got David Bowie also.
Yes, David Bowie with the famous cod piece. Is that what he's wearing?
Yeah. And then who's the girl?
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly.
The Dilemmas, Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
Before she hooked up with Vince Vaughn. Yeah, good movies. I think that those two are definitely more kids oriented, like both of them. Whereas Princess Bride, I don't know if it's. I wouldn't say that adults are more likely to enjoy The Princess Bride, like more than kids. I think that they probably enjoy it differently. I think I don't know. Maybe kids today they might find it too slow. I don't know, Alex. We're too removed from childhood, and neither of us as kids, so there's no way of knowing. But those of you who have kids, listeners, let us know.
The world may never know.
Not our world, at least. And we're gonna close with Christopher Knoll from filmcritic.com, who says any movie that can convince you that Andrew the Giant should have been an actor instead of a wrestler is an A in my book. Definitely dedicate a fair amount of time to Andrew's performance and career on the show.
That's pretty much what the narrative of it is like, it's kind of a bummer that he was so close to the end of his life here, and it showed, we talk about it in the episode too, who's to say this wasn't lightning in a bottle, but it showed that he offered more than being Hulk Hogan's foil at this point in his life.
If Andrew the Giant was still alive, what are the odds that he would be in the MCU?
Very high.
I'm glad that you didn't even fight it. You know that's what would happen.
Yes. Once we lost Julia Louis-Dreyfus, man, I just gave up all
hope. Look at it this way. At least we haven't gotten Hulk Hogan.
Getting paid. Oh, I'm sure Terry's tried, and I'm sure if you asked him, I was supposed to be Thor, dude.
Odin.
Joss Whedon called me and said, "Yo, Hulkster, brother."
All right. Well, Hopkins is done playing Odin, so maybe they'll get Hogan too.
He's got enough shit to worry about.
Never too busy for a call from the MCU.
Get Dwayne to do it.
He's Black Adam, man. He's booked. Can't commit to anything else. All right. So those were the quotes, Alex. Before we go to trivia, let's put Josh Gad in this movie. This is where
easy.
Oh, you think so?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is the Josh Gad Minute. We're going to recast somebody in The Princess Bride. Kick him out. Put Josh Gad in. Are you thinking Vizzini? Because that's
no.
Oh,
he doesn't get a big part. He gets a memorable part, but not a big one. So Peter Cook, sorry, hit the fucking bricks. The impressive clergyman. That's where Josh Gad comes in. You don't act like you can't see Josh Gad with his hair slicked back and that Catholic headpiece on. Just marriage. That's done.
But people would riot. That is one of the most iconic bits of the movie, and I guess they can still quote it. It would just be Josh Gad's performance instead of Peter Cook's. But
I mean, if we're replacing it, but the idea of the remake, a friend of mine who listened to our episode messaged me that he's like, the story is so universal. Yeah, they could remake it. And then he texted me again a few minutes later, and he's like, I was on board until you guys started talking about Seth Rogen being in this, and that would just ruin it. So, because he said if it did get remade, he knows that he would find a way to be in it. So, fuck it. If we're burning it to the ground, then Josh Gad gets the impressive clergyman position.
All right, I'll take it. Maybe we'll get an extended sequence. We'll see the whole wedding, not just cutaways to the wedding.
Oh, yeah, because the remake will be 2.5 hours long because...
Gotta pad it.
Because no one has fucking balls in Hollywood anymore.
That's where you get the sex scene between Wesley and Buttercup before he leaves.
As the horses watch through the window and it's raining.
Yes.
There's a stew that's boiling over on the oven.
And the fireplace just extinguishes.
Yes. The sex scene ends with their, the climax, and then it pans over to the fire, and then it fades to the morning when the fire's out, and then they're
naked
in bed together.
No covers. It's just full frontal.
Some cover. No, it's the overhead shot, and Cary Elwes has the sheet going through his legs, so it covers up his penis. But Robin Wright's wrapped around him completely nude, so you get the side profile of her. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, it won't be them anymore. I think they could be, but probably.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I don't know who you'd get. No one's as good looking as Cary Elwes is in this movie anymore, so good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Hollywood, figure it out. If you're gonna make it happen, which you will, then just make it happen right.
We've already got 2 parts cast for you. You get Josh Gad as the impressive clergyman and Seth Rogen as Fezzik.
It's CGI Fezzik with.
I don't make the rules.
Rogen's-
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like Braun Strowman's body with Seth Rogen's head fucking AI'd onto it.
All right.
I know that's not how AI works, guys, but that's how I'm going to be using it as a verb from this point forward.
It will work like that. We're getting there. All right. Well, that's settled. Josh Gad will marry Buttercup and Wesley. No, Buttercup and Prince Humperdinck. So let's move on to trivia. Alex, what do you have?
I mean, we cover a good amount of stuff in the episode, and also we're complimentary of some of the from the Andre perspective. So we'll lead with Andre here. When asked his favorite thing about making the film, Andre replied, without skipping a beat, "Nobody looks at me." He felt he was treated as an equal without people staring at him because of his size. That is, if you've seen the documentary, something he always had a hard time with. He was who he was and made his fortune because of his size, but he still felt like a circus freak, like going to the airport and shit.
Well, Sean is like, we're all freaks. Bring it in.
Weeble wobble, one of us. And Andre, this just made me laugh on the IMDb page. Andre called, and they have his full name, Andre Rene Roussimoff, called almost everyone on set, be they director, producer, co-stars, or crew, boss, a technique he employed to defer to people like he liked and go some way towards counteracting the way he would tower over them. Anyone, if you've ever listened to any wrestler ever tell a story about Andre, he called everybody boss. Okay, boss. If you liked him, of course. I don't think he called Jim Hellwig boss. It's just funny that they kind of try to church it up. It's just like, I call a lot of people brother, and his thing was boss.
Had nothing to do with diffusing the tension.
Yeah. Immortally, Hulk Hogan, in one of his 9 million lies, said the finish of WrestleMania 3 was called on the fly, which it absolutely was not. He said, like, they're in the ring and, brother, we can't hear over the crowd. I just hear Andre yell, "Slam me, boss." And it's one of the most cringe things you'll ever watch. And then I had one more Andre bit. Rob Reiner and Andrew Scheinman recorded all of Andre's scenes on tape, with Rob Reiner doing Andre's lines. During rehearsals, Andre would walk around with headphones that had the tape playing at all times. It worked out great, and they didn't even have to loop his lines. I will say that is an impressive aspect of it as someone who's watched my entire life Andre's old promos and such. He's very articulate here, whereas like it wasn't like shouty, but he had a very thick accent. English was his second language, and some of his wrestling promos, you can't really understand what he's saying a lot of the time.
Je voudrais dire que ça fait vraiment plaisir de venir dans cette région pour faire la lutte. Et je voudrais dire aussi que si vraiment les gens d'ici veulent vraiment bien m'accepter, ça ferait plaisir de devenir américain.
I don't know. Here, he's just, I think it goes to, he was relaxed and not probably nervous in front of that camera, and had the right treatment he needed to help him along the way and getting his lines delivered.
So what you're saying is they need a Reiner behind the scenes at WrestleMania.
Yes.
Just
every year.
Going over Andrew's lines.
Cody Rhodes would have won this year if Rob Reiner had written the show. Or just Rob Reiner back there. What? This is your biggest show of the year, and the guy who's come back to win the belt for his dad who passed away, he's going to lose? What? That's where Reiner just goes, I don't understand this business, and he walks out. I just imagine fucking Triple H or someone like, but you don't understand. This will play out later. And he goes, who the fuck are you? I'm Rob Reiner. Robin Wright and Carrie Ells were smitten with each other during filming, naturally helping their chemistry in the movie. Ells said that he couldn't concentrate on much of anything after the first encounter with Robin. Yeah, 2 really young, really hot people. Like, it's, God bless them both, man.
It's so hard being hot. Being hot around other people that are also hot.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
And then, she got hotter, as Julio and I discussed, still to this day is gorgeous. And Carrie Ells, by the time Saw came around, it's like, man, brother, what happened, man?
He went the character actor route.
Yeah.
To like, forget the vanity. I'm just going to focus on the craft.
Director Rob Reiner left the set during Billy Crystal's scenes because he would laugh so hard that he would feel nauseated. Nauseated is an extreme word, there have been circumstances where I've laughed at something so hard, like my stomach is cramped. That's typically reserved for hanging out with friends, and some chemicals may be involved or whatnot. But
I mean,
some
chemicals may have been involved in that Billy Crystal scene.
Chemical sounds intense. Plants is what I meant to say. But like, there's stuff I have watched before that I've just absolutely lost my shit to. But I don't know if I've ever felt nauseated. Julio, it's the hardest have you ever felt nauseated laughing at something?
Just because in the back of my head I can relate to it, so I'm assuming it's happened at some point, but I just can't pinpoint like who was making me laugh that much.
I know the feeling of like my stomach muscles like cramping up because I've been laughing so hard and so long at something.
Yeah, and Billy Crystal won't shut the fuck up. He keeps riffing. You're like, God, stop.
It's true. Mandy Patinkin claims the only injury he sustained during the entire filming of this movie was a bruised rib due to stifling his laughter in scenes with Billy Crystal. His attempt at holding back his laughter is obvious from his facial expressions during the line, "This is noble, sir."
I hadn't noticed. I could tell that he was very, very serious, but that's awesome.
There's a great one of those in Wet Hot American Summer that they just keep in the movie, where Michael Ian Black and Zach Orth break, but it's still just in the movie, of course, adding to that movie's charm.
There's a few of those in Jimmy Fallon's late night show.
Oh.
Only a handful, though.
Surprised to hear it. Princess Bride was released on September 25th of 1987, directed by Rob Reiner, written by William Goldman, and based on The Princess Bride, S. Mortenson's classic tale of true love and high adventure, the Good Parts version, written also by William Goldman. It was released on September 25th of 1987, budget of $16 million, box office return of a little bit under $31 million. So due to this movie's overwhelmingly positive and beloved legacy, that seems like a low dollar amount. I would like that money. But, when you think of like how beloved this movie is by multiple generations of movie viewers and just people in general, you'd think you'd be dealing with a bit higher box office return.
Yeah, but back then you didn't have IMAX, you didn't have 3D, so they didn't really boost.
You didn't have Rob Reiner bullying you via interviews saying that you need to go and see it here.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising, but you know what else is surprising, actually? That I haven't seen that many special showings of The Princess Bride. Like, I feel like they re-release Titanic every couple of years, but Casablanca is like once a year. I think there's a Fathom event that plays it somewhere.
You come across movies like that where people are just stingy with them. And also, like, studio rights always fuck things up. Like, True Lies, I think, had a singular Blu-ray release. But you think of a movie like True Lies, you would think there's like, a dozen different special editions or something like that. And this is 20th Century. There's your answer. It's owned by Disney now, so there ain't going to be any screenings of it.
Just go to Disney Plus, enjoy it in the comfort of your own home.
So does that make this the second Disney movie to get a Criterion, since we got the Criterion coming out this fall?
So WALL-E first, and then this one, I guess.
I'm curious, like, honestly, how that works. Of Disney technically owns them, but 20th Century Fox is obviously still its own subsidiary. We'll have to write Criterion, because much like when WALL-E came out and people immediately started fantasy booking what Disney movies would be coming out, and Criterion immediately like issued a statement, just clarified like, no, this is a one-time thing. As it should be, because WALL-E's fucking amazing. And this is too. And I'm looking forward to the Criterion release, and a year from now, Julio and I talking about how we picked it up during the Criterion sale.
How much we enjoyed the essay by William Goldman.
Yes.
And the featurette, the supplement that actually has all those recordings of Rob Reiner doing Andre the Giant's lines.
And then the unearthed footage of Andre drunkenly freaking out on set and beating up Carrie Ells.
Bruising Mandy Patinkin.
What'd you say, boss? What'd you call me? All right, so closing down here. In a 2012 interview with New York Magazine, Mandy Patinkin said that his most famous line from The Princess Bride, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die," gets quoted back to him at least by 2 or 3 strangers every day of his life. Patinkin told the interviewer that he loves hearing the line, and he also loves the general fact that he got to be in the movie, stating, "I'm frankly thrilled about it. I can't believe that I got to be in The Wizard of Oz." You know what I mean? That's not that bad. I always remember Dave Chappelle talking about just having to put up for years on end before he became known for other things in general, with people like coming up to him anywhere and just going, "Rick James, bitch," just like saying that to him. And this is almost like a lyric in the sense of it's something, if you have it correctly memorized, it means you're a fan and not just kind of like, "Hey, it's that guy. Hey, you." Because I've watched enough cringeworthy interactions with fans and wrestlers, or fans and, fighters, or even in the case of some movie stars with the theater Julio and I used to work at. But one of those was me, cringeworthy. The Rooney Mara story. I don't know if it's ever been told on air, but if you ever meet me in public, ask. So that wouldn't be that bad.
Have you done that? Like, have you gone up to like a wrestler or an actor or somebody? And I know Rooney Mara, you didn't even get that far, but just going up to them and quoted something that they said.
I one time, there was a wrestler named Chris Hero who was one of my favorites, and he had this. He said that he had like 500 counters to a move. And I was like 19, and I met this other wrestler, Roderick Strong, who like had worked with him. And I, like, with complete sincerity, asked him, "Does he really have 500 counters for that move?" And he looked at me like I was a fucking moron. He looked at me like he couldn't believe I just asked him that. I don't know if I've quoted anything directly to somebody. I know there's plenty of like musicians or something that I've met and said like, "I really like X." Like, X is really cool to me. Yeah, I'm blanking on it right now. I'm sure I've said to somebody like, "Hey, I really liked when you said or did this thing," but I don't know. Did you recite your favorite dialogue from 12 Monkeys?
No. I didn't. I am so bad with quotes to begin with that I wouldn't do it, just because I know that I wouldn't get it right, and that's even more embarrassing. But you mentioned Arnold, so
well, I was gonna say like Arnold or Sly. How many times do you think Silva? It literally could be in the millions of times someone's yelled at him, "Yo, Adrian, I did it," or "Hey, Rock," and with Schwarzenegger, excuse me, there can't ever be a time where he leaves his house and goes into public and someone doesn't say, "I'll be back."
I mean, that's the
right?
scenario, because otherwise they're like hitting him with the chopper line or something from True Lies, maybe.
Man, for that like 10 years from 97 to 07, I don't think Kate Winslet could ever go anywhere without someone saying, "I'll never let go, Jack." Probably to this day, because that movie, like you said, gets re-released. James Cameron makes sure it stays in the public ether every 10 years. So my question to you, Julio, and to people listening to this, hit subscribe and comment below with your answer. If you were to be famous, would you want to have something like this where it's like I said, a bit of a line, and it shows more of like, you can interpret immediately that someone knows who you are from this role and cares about it so much they memorize this? Or do you just want the one word that someone like yells at you? Like Dave Koechner hears "whammy" every day, I'm sure. Would you rather have that, or
God.
I'm just making Julio feel bad for all these people.
No, I think you have to choose the Patinkin. I want somebody.
I agree.
The only problem is that then it might get awkward, because if that person wants to continue the interaction, then it's a little more intense than just some guy that's just yelling "whammy" or "I'll be back," because that's like, oh yeah, hey. But the guy
like
that comes
Steve Carell, "Hey, that's what she said."
Yes. The guy that comes and gives you the Paris, Texas monologue, like, how do you like get yourself out of that?
Oh my God. Harry Dean Stanton just at dinner, and some guy comes up and does the entire monologue to him. And he's just like, "Oh my God." And the waiter's trying to get around him to hand him like the dinner rolls. Oh man, that's fantastic. Is there anyone, if you ever met, you would tell them something they wrote or a line they delivered really resonated with you?
Oh yeah, that's I mean, just pick any of the actors or directors, or writers that I enjoy, like just to pick somebody that we share our appreciation for. PTA, like if I were, and I have been in the same room as PTA. He was here in Austin once. He was not the subject of the panel. He was interviewing Jonathan Demme.
Noah Baumbach.
Why not? And I remember I was like, if I have an opening, I'm just gonna go up to him and just tell him how much I enjoy Magnolia. I don't know what I would have quoted. Probably quoting one of the Tom Cruise lines would have been too far.
Yeah,
but
ask him to tame your penis.
Yes.
Is it worship?
No,
yeah,
it's respect the cock.
That's it. If I had ever been blessed enough to meet Philip Seymour Hoffman, I would have said to him, "I'm always home. I'm uncool," because that to me is like top lines of dialogue ever.
Can you imagine? Like you do that, and they just look at you like they don't get it.
Donald Pleasance, God rest his soul, just see him like in public. Hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there. And he's like, get the fuck away from me.
But it would be just one of those, like, we were talking about it on a recent episode, like people that don't see their own movies, they don't watch their own movies. Mm-hmm. So you go up to Phil Seymour Hoffman, you give him that line, and he looks at you, and then eventually clicks, and he's like, oh, he kept that?
That would be deflating. But fortunately, that Roderick Strong story is probably the most cringe interaction I've had with anyone of moderate celebrity. So hopefully keep it that way. If I ever met Tina Fey, I would just start like rattling off 30 Rock lines, be like, "Oh, remember this? Remember this? Remember this?"
Yes, I wrote it. Well, I think that takes us to the end of this warm up. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoy the episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, go for it. If you have, listen to it again. Why not? Coming up next, we start the month of August officially with a monster movie. Would you call the Jaws franchise a monster franchise?
For the most part, but this is a slasher movie.
That's true. Well, the line is very...
This time it's personal.
Yes. Jaws, The Revenge. Unofficially Jaws 4, I guess. We did, as we mentioned on the episode, we did Jaws, the first Jaws in our first year. And now, all these years later, it's time to go for the movie that some people say killed the franchise. So, stay tuned. Watch it. It's
bought Michael Caine a home, though.
Yeah. It's there's a silver lining in the story of Jaws, The Revenge, and that is that Michael Caine had a great time in the Bahamas.
Michael Caine turned out all right.
Yeah. So check that out. As usual, thank you for watching these videos. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and we will talk to you again soon.